Hello, everybody. It was kind of a blah session for the market, so we'll just go over each index at a time. The Nasdaq up 0.12% today, volume lower than the day before, but above average. The intraday action overall, not that good, but at the same time, we're stuck in between the recent lows and the recent highs. The highs of 2.1, the lows of 120, and as long as we're trapped in between that range, I'm going to stay pretty neutral. Even though we're technically under a follow-through day and the market's holding on to the rally attempt, our operational models are still under a sell signal. So it's a lot of mixed messages here, and that's why cash is still extremely heavily king in my portfolios. Looking at the S&P 500, up 0.15% today. Same similar action. A pocket pivot point signal today, but, that's not really good intraday price, action to really care about that. The Dow Jones kind of led today, up 0.49%. That was not bad to see. The Dow Jones Transportation Average, though, that was the impressive index on the day, up 3.17%. Not out of the woods yet, but I tell you what, it's really good to see this Transportation Average taking a lead like it is. And if this price action could continue, hopefully that kind of spills over into the broad market. I don't have a whole lot of great patterns out there. Gold stocks look like they're moving higher. Oil stocks look like they're bottoming. The utilities continue to lead. And overall, I'm just, not really impressed with the price action out there in individual stocks, but it could always get better. The Russell 2000 up 0.44% today. Another intraday poor reversal. So really there was only one index that stood out, the Dow Jones Transportation Average. And even then, it's still way too early to call a bottom. It's nicer that we have higher highs and higher lows now. But that 50-day moving average and downtrending 200-day moving average and September, October, November, and December resistance still looms above. There's not enough accumulation off of these lows for me to be, too confident that we just have to keep on moving up. And on that note, this market is just, you just don't see this kind of stuff happening in other markets. OCLR was a long position back here, right here on this day. As you can see, it trended higher nicely and everything was going fine. But got shaken out of the position back here. And I feel stupid now, as I wish I kind of would have staggered the sell stop levels, but I just kept getting knocked out by pennies on each one. You can see here the low is 316. And back here, you can see right here, we get down to 316 too. But you know what? Instead of keeping this 316 final sell stop, something with this bounce right here, something told me to, after this sell-off day, to make it 318, to forget about 316. So I did that. So, of course, it trades down to 316 the next day, knocking me out. Comes back, and like I said yesterday, I was like, damn it. But then a few days later, I was like, oh, I made the right decision. And then, whoops, again. Then a few days later, I was like, oh, yeah, I definitely made the right decision. But wait a minute. Here it starts to come back. Now it's breaking out again. And look at the follow through. I want to remind everybody that in a stronger non-volatile market, if we're even in an uptrend or a sideways tape where the volatility isn't like it is, we don't get shaken out of OCLR, and to this day, we're still up 46% in the entire position. But this market just barely triggers stops and then reverses and moves higher so often. It's so disappointing, but I don't know how else you want to trade it, because if you don't have stops, you could end up in something like this. LXFT, this was a stock of interest just 3 days ago. Look at it now. Imagine if you didn't have stops. Let's say you bought this 50-day moving average break, and you didn't have stops with a 50-day moving average refail. Now you're down almost 8% in the position after 2-day sell-off from the LXFT. Look at ICE. ICE breaks out and then boom, reversal. If you don't have a sell stop below that low a day, you're down, an extra 3%. So overall, in MAA, once again, if your cut loss isn't right at the 50-day moving average, now you've got some big losses. But breakouts, as you can see on MAA, ICE, LXFT, which didn't break out but was getting there, VIRT, look at that failure. It's just an indication of a market LB was basing out, not pretty or anything, but it was trying to work on a base, and it failed. But this kind of price action overall, the way that we roll over so strong, I know it's earnings season, is just indicated of a market that just isn't really healthy and ready to go. JBSS also finally pulled back, from its highs. And I would like to see this continue to move sideways before breaking out. But besides JBSS, there really isn't anything out there that's just screaming, buy me, buy me, buy me. So until I start seeing better patterns out there, I'm just going to remain really cautious here. Dow Jones Transportation average up 3% today or not. I do have one new long position that's of quality. ABMD is an earnings winner. It announced earnings this morning, and it obviously impressed the street. If you look at a longer term chart, you can see here since November, it's been under a huge accumulation. And outside of this little October sell-off here, which by the way, you'll notice on the rest of the down days within this pattern, all below average, all below average. Volume starts to pick up again, but this up day right here on this heavy volume is a big intraday reversal day right at the 200-day moving average. So even the crash below the 200-day moving average was found support right at the 200-day moving average. So I want to go ahead and increase the size of this long position because it is CanSlim quality. It is perfect speculator quality. It's in my pre-perfect speculator scan, one of 14 stocks. And they're not all stocks, like I think 9 or 8 of them are stocks, and if even that. So it's in the CanSlim scan, it's in the perfect speculator scan, it's an earnings winner today, and it was also confirmed in my price volume BOP scan. So overall, normally that would be 1, 2 for perfect speculator, and then 0.5 for each for a 3% position. But I'm going to treat it as 1% for CanSlim, 0.5 for being pre-perfect speculator, and 0.5 for being price volume BOP for a total of 2. And even that's risky in this tape because it's all about not losing money here for me. So my first sell stop will be with a move below 87.26, but you can be sure that if it breaks that on like huge volume and then 86 is its low of the day tomorrow, 86 will be my final sell stop, but half of it is at 87.26 and half will be at the 200-day moving average, and for now that's right around like the 81 level. So 81 and 87.26 are my two stop levels for ABMD, but it's strong on the short term, excellent support off the 200-day moving average, and it's even better looking at a long-term chart since that gap up and strong up session back in October before the stock really started to trend higher. But this is a really nice technical pattern in a very lame tape. So that's the really only new long position. The really end-of-day sells, well, I don't know why I call them really, but intraday, I guess, because some things don't get hit, whatever. But STZ is a 50% sell signal, closing below the 20-day moving average, on above average volume. None of my stops have hit, but I'm now raising one of my sell stops to below 145.44. And now I'm raising the sell stop that I have here up to here, because if it loses this level, I don't know if I really want to be long the stock anyway in this kind of tape. But STZ, 50% sell signal on an end-of-day basis. Also, EBF triggered 50% of my sell stops intraday when it moved below this low day right here. And since we got a small gap down after our signal day, I was able to leave with profits. The final sell stop is going to continue to be at 18.31 on the entire position. You can move it up to below the low day here, but because volume was below average, it's not going to be I'm not going to move up my stop to 18.98. I'm going to keep it at 18.31. So EBF and STZ 50% sells on an end-of-day basis, and then intraday I got knocked out a half a plab. Yesterday, following the move below the 50-day moving average, I moved my first sell stop up from 11.70 to 11.83. So it traded below 83 today, down to 11.81, triggering half of my sell stops. By the end of the day, it closed higher, but overall, it didn't close up higher that much. It's below the 50-day moving average, and BOP is going the wrong way, so chance of it failing increases. But even if it fails here, if it does on low volume, if BOP stays green and then it pops back above the 50-day moving average, I guarantee I'll be calling PLAB back on. And then I have one other speculative long position, AMSC, pocket pivot point signal, beautiful short-term technical pattern. I would make this a 1% signal, even in this market, if it didn't have earnings on the 9th. So February 9th, it has earnings, gives me a couple of sessions to cut my losses if I'm wrong. First sell stop is 620 on the position. The final sell stop on the position technically would be back here at 528, but there's no way in hell I let it trade below 528, so it'll probably be like 570. It's going to be a small position, only 0.5% of my account capital. If this is a bull market, this is max stream BOP the entire way, and this volume's huge on this move, and earnings are already like in the past, like back here, this would be easily probably a 5% speculative position used in today's low day as the final sell stop.